I'm Rob.
I'm E.
August Fanon here.
I'm blackchai.
Welcome to the next movement, folks.
Tear sleeves like breaking out of subliminal structure. Mental prison, no limits to well down. The dungeon prophetic weaponize itself like Kimimaro with a bone blade. Lofty arrangement without the sunken cause. No sunken held the lost, willfully ignorant. Not a product of indifference. Wisdom, knowledge synthesizing a line of vision. Need vital twists to keep it interesting across time and space. Routinely training the well before feigning death. Design emphasis, mostly inclined to keep from idling by. Revolver clip like stages of life, synchronizing the pace. Always paying the cost, payment equalizer, seeking higher ground. No doubt in self, ignore the cell by heaven and hell collide and burn the bush to wind down while behind the aperture, basking in black light. Seen the past turn to tidal waves, take the page out the old book, new coat of paint, code of honor in the data stream, cold vein, coping with anguish, flowing erratic motion, the main mode of action. I'm a principal before a pragmatist, operator of fly diction, taking the truths of thoughts, divide and conquer the contents, combine dissonant strains, same old tired but expanding range, the domain, the frame never folded, no holes, redirect your quarter to the unknown, blank purgatory, purge from the formulae, follow through with an impetus, unstoppable force of nature, pray to the four elements, mad niggas is corporate, even beneath the floorboard, shit's a war of attrition, the new normal distortions of what's really real, so keep the real on rewind, read between the lines, read what you sow in the field, no try and bring the feeling back, better live in the moment, only fucking with dope shit that past the litmus, surpass the surface without deserting the fragments, there's no end to learning, zigzag zig between student and master.
August Fanon, Black Chai. Thank you both for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course, yeah. I think everyone here is in agreement. Otherwise, a Blur is a really dope project. Looking forward to talking to you both about it as well as some other things. So let's just get to it. As I understand, the two of you have been friends for a long time, and it just makes me wonder what has kept the two of you from making Otherwise a Blur to this point.
I mean, we met like maybe a little over just a year ago. I think we had interacted on like Twitter, like we were mutuals before that, but we met in person at like a Theravada. Like it was like Theravada and Rob Chambers, and it was an Ilsugi from Japan had come to New York, and it was just like a beat show in Manhattan. And I pulled up, and August was there, and like he had recognized me, and we started chatting and shit.
Yeah. We started chatting and just carried on. And then like actually my girlfriend she's still my girlfriend. She knew about Black Chai before and she was telling me about him. And then saying we seen him at the Ilsugi Theravada thing. And so we got to talking and we talked a little bit more and stuff. And then actually after the last album that he released, I was like, yo, I like what I heard, I was like, yo, we could really do something really, really good together. I was like, this could really be something special. So I hit him up like, what do you think about doing an album, And he was with it, and we just started working on a record. But yeah, so I mean, it took us a little while to get started, but now that we're locked in, saying you expect a whole bunch more stuff from us, I'm sure. So yeah.
Yeah. Like at first, we would just like send each other like albums we liked and like talk about music and shit. And like I had wanted to work with him for like a long time because like I'm a big fan of like all the other stuff that he worked on. But yeah, I put out Year Wandering in March, and then he hit me and like all that. And you sent me so many beats. I think you sent me like over 100 beats, like with the first few packs you sent me, because they were all the
Yeah,
beats that you were like gonna send to like Ka and like Killer
yeah,
Priest or some shit. And
yeah,
I
yeah.
whittled it down to like 30 or 40 beats over the course of a few days. And I did. So two of the songs on Otherwise a Blur were done in like April, but it wasn't even I was just making the songs like I wasn't like I'm gonna do this project. It was Suit Tie and Halo and
Yeah,
Permanence.
yeah.
Uh, but then like the whole summer, I like didn't really do a lot because I have like other shit I'm working on. I just like kept psyching myself out. Like I was kind of kept putting in myself in the mindset of like, oh, I got to make this like a great, super well thought out album. But then when I made Otherwise a Blur, I did most of it over the course of like maybe like 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, other than those two songs. Like I was sick and like home from work for like 2.5 weeks. So I just had like unlimited time on my hands and I just randomly just like locked in and just like I like one night I wrote like two of the verses in like maybe an hour. And then after that, I was like, all right, I can probably knock out songs. And it just kept adding until I ended up with what eventually was the album.
Yeah, I think the first one we did actually was Suit and Tie and Halo. Suit, Tie and Halo. That was the very first thing we did. And I remember like most of the beats, like there's 11 tracks, 10 of them are recent beats. Maybe 8 of them are recent. 2 of them are kind of mid, but and one is real old. Like War Rations, there's been actually other MCs who have claimed that beat that haven't got on it, that ended up on War Rations. But Suit and Tie Hell was the first one we did, I remember. And I remember when we did it, like I was like, okay, now I can't break down all these rhymes right now in this first listen or first couple of listens, but it's just giving me this kind of like subversive feel, and so he laid down the demo, and then I came with the Charles Mingus excerpt, and I was just like, okay, this is great, you know what I'm saying? And then I remember you said we did in Permanence next, and then we did another one for another album that I got coming out. He did one for me, and then
Yeah, yeah.
we got started with everything else, and I remember the first mix he sent me back though was Dissonant Strains, and I was blown away by it. Like I didn't know he mixed records, and it was just the mix was just because that's the thing, it made everything like all the lyrics like crisper, and everything was just enhanced, and I was just like, wow, okay, this is how we're gonna come. I'm like, all right, we're gonna lock in, and like another thing that Chai did, all the ad libs and like special effects over his verses, he added all that stuff. So like I feel like when he went in, I remember he mentioned this before about how he felt like this is like the first album he kind of just like I'm not holding back, or I don't feel I'm just gonna go for it. And it felt like there was a lot of intention, you know what I'm saying? Because usually when artists don't usually send me those kind of like ad libs and special effects and stuff, I got to add those in myself if I'm going to do that. So, but he already had this idea of like what he wanted to do. And so when I sent him the original demos, he sent me back, his verses with the ad libs and the special effects. And then I'd come back and I'd maybe like do some post production. I'd do a beat change. I add an intro and outro, maybe an excerpt or something like that. And that's pretty much how it flowed throughout the process with the whole thing, and it just came together so well, you know what I'm saying? It was like a lot of intentionality. Like you said, it came together so quickly. Like you said, 2 or 3 weeks. It came together really quickly. It came together really quickly, you know what I'm saying? But the beats he chose, like they all fit so well together, you know what I'm saying? It was really cool.
Well, I love this project every time I listen to it. And one of my favorite things about it, there's so much to like about it. One of my favorite things are the liner notes that are written for it. I mean, the first time I read them, I was like, damn, they were just really powerful words written. And I think they really capture what y'all are doing on this project. I want to read some lines from them. The Black radical tradition endures as an ever evolving challenge to the oppressive ideological superstructure of the West. It explodes from those witnessing the world in peril. It continues to build community and connect champions for liberation. With otherwise a blur, blackchai and August Fanon are yet another powerful expression of this continuing tradition. Together, they've created a diverse and engrossing experience. I wondered, as Black creatives, are you always conscious of this bigger picture and what your art represents when you're putting it out in the world?
I am definitely, 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 you know what I'm saying? Like the Black Radical, like I wrote something like I mentioned the Charles Mingus excerpt, Halo, like that Black Radical tradition coming from jazz, even before jazz, but just say from jazz up into hip hop is so strong, with Chai and myself, and just like when he was saying, like, like I don't know what jazz is and I don't care, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like I'm here doing it, you know what I'm saying? And all these other people are trying to like define or write declarative, definitive statements about the genre or this or that and the third. And it's like, man, I don't know, man. I'm here. I'm busy doing this thing, and I got other issues going on here. But yeah, it's definitely on the front of my mind all the time.
Mm.
Yeah, I'd say the same. I mean, I definitely have always like when I started getting really into like hip hop and like making it like music and shit. I like went back to like I was like digging through like 80s shit and all that. And I just remember the first time I saw like the Rakim quote where he talked about how he came up with the way he like rapped back then, because it was like influenced by how he like played trumpet, I think. And he would just always relate like the more extensive way of rhyming, like the proto Nas kind of flow, as like jazz instrumentation basically. And that's always in the back of my mind when I'm writing. I'm just like, yeah, like it has to be like angular. It's pretty much just like the rapper is an instrument, the beat is the melodic part of the song, and the rapper is just like doing the jazz solo
Mm.
essentially. So that's
Mm.
always something that's present in my mind. And like that just all extends to blackness. And like it's just like the art, even if like the music or like the content of some songs is not specifically about some black shit or some revolutionary or some political shit, it's always just like, I'm a black person and
Mm.
any experience I have is black experience. And just think, yeah, it's just kind of all wraps together.
What is jazz music?
Call me by the code name, operations playing out in real time existence. Sign of defiance, rapidly going through it, no room for apathy. Solitude like a magnet, actions imperative to the outcome. It's a one-way ticket. Choose your fate, the path, why and why tapping my tabula rasa like they ain't got an eye for originality. Know what it costs you to keep the facade active, even the odds. Keep it calm beyond madness, captive to the flawed nature. Walk the fault lines, fault the law, no compromising. The common conception is revolutionary violence, wholly necessary but carrying weight. The difference is hidden in plain sight, sight from the waist. No container for my domain, no plane to say shit ain't sacred till we put it on paper. The pace irregular, fully formed, mind disorganized over moving plates. Buddhist ruminations, hearts weary and radiant, raking in the illusions. Take intrusive thoughts to the tombs, race the truth perceived different from a few angles. Sultan halo, some intangible makeup. The plot ends with a fantasy lost in translation. Arrangements lofty, but I can touch the plane. Plummet out the sky that was soft landing. Barely alive, with blood soaked bandages. Ramble on, ran through the canvas. Silhouettes blacker in the sunlight. Smudges on the glass, cracked underfoot. Wooden stairs with an asterisk barely attached. Keep the hoodie drawn, hatred overrated. Need respiration, contemplating up. Wait until dawn, fully unrecognizable in the frame.
You guys were speaking to this a little bit earlier, but this project does something that many of my favorites do. It weaves each track into the next so that when I listen to it, I can't really tell where I am in the track list. I kind of get
Mm. Mm.
sonically, I feel like I'm inside of it. That's a good thing. But that also has meant that I can't keep the track name straight. That might just be because I'm getting old. But it's also the type of project that feels like, as you've said already, that feels like it's had a lot of intention to it, a lot of attention to detail put into it, which I assume includes the track titles. Are there things that maybe you've heard about already, people picking up on, or things that you are hoping people pick up on that like excite you?
Yeah, that's probably the craziest part for me personally. Like I always get bugged out when people have like such just deep, like they'll just pull like some really deep shit out of like my lyrics, like stuff that I might not have even really thought too hard about. Like I've gotten a lot of that specifically from this album from a lot of people. And like a lot of it is like, the way I write is very non sequitur, like stream of consciousness. So it's like never about one thing, but there's a bunch of shit rolled into it. And sometimes it's focused on more, and sometimes it's not. But like you just like it's still able to be picked up on. Like there's like some really I think there's like one lyric on the whole album about like a grift, just like kind of just general, just like everywhere you go, there's like some kind of grift happening. And someone like picked up on that and had like pretty much gave me like a whole like passionately like spoken paragraph about that and like shit like that. But yeah, I mean like lyrically it's kind of all over the place, but I guess it is also just like focused on just general, just like life experience, and then just like mixed in with like a lot of like spontaneity of whatever was going on when I made it. Like all the anime sound effects are just because I was just like I had that on in the background while I was making it. Most of the song titles I think are all just pulled from the lyrics. But usually I like deliberate super hard over naming songs and like the little minute aspects of songs, like the ad libs and shit like that. And this time I just kind of fully gave in to just like, all right, it could be that. Like it doesn't have to be super deep, but like it just felt so relieving to be able to do that. Because like this album is honestly like what I have wanted to make since I've been making music, just like a tape. Like I mean, it's an album, but I mean, just like I made it with like feeling like, oh, this is just like a rap tape where I'm just rapping as good as I can over really dope beats. Like I was listening to Dollar Menu a lot when I made it, and it's like they're just rapping for like 30 minutes, but it's fucking incredible.
That's what I'm saying. One funny thing somebody picked out. I was telling Chai this. Somebody hit me up and was like, I've never really gotten into nerdcore hip hop. I'm not sure about that genre. And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, my man, it's a joke, man. I don't get into nerdcore hip hop. It was just a joke, And I was like, damn, man. And I hit Chai. I'm like, do you think other people are gonna think that? And I was like, nah. And he's just a little generous of the mind there, but I don't think. I hope not. You know what I'm saying? But that was kind of funny, man.
Oh man, took it literally.
Yeah.
I think one of the first things that I noticed about Otherwise a Blur is that the production sounds like it was organized in a very specific way, one that would really allow listeners to be fully immersed in the project storyline. It feels so cinematic the more I listen to it. Was this direction intentional?
Well, I mean, this like Chai said, like I gave him these two. I had these two big beat packs. I had this one that I was creating. I named the Car Pack, and if his music is very cinematic. And then I don't know if you know like what Killer Priest has been doing like since COVID. It kind of his thing, but in similar, but in his own vein. And it created a pack with the intention of getting to Killer Priest too, and they were pretty big packs, like at least 40, 50 beats in each one. And so I had this kind of like you said, he took 100, like you said, he had 100 to start with, and they were all a lot. Well, not everything, but a lot of the stuff in there was just cinematic type stuff. And he picked it out. He chose what he chose, and it just came out that way. Like you were saying, it really set a tone and like the perfect backdrop for what he was laying down, for what he was laying down. And I did like all like the beat changes and stuff, but like I came after he laid down the verses, except for the first one, the Your Meshi's Depeche Mode. I I created that one with the beat change and everything at first. And a lot of times I don't. Sometimes I'll put beat changes in, but usually that happens in post. But that time, for whatever reason, I guess I just heard the sample at the time. Like, yo, I'm putting this on this too, and we're gonna rock like this. But yeah, a lot of people have come back and told me that, like, yeah, they feel it's very cinematic. I remember somebody telling me like planetary devastation felt like planetary devastation. You know what I'm saying? Like it felt
Yeah.
like that. But from track like Rob was saying, like track to track, like even myself, like, that's common with me now anyway. I just like not knowing what song I'm listening to. You know what I'm saying? Because like you
Mhm.
don't have you rarely nowadays don't have the album in front of you. You don't have the liner notes, you don't have anything. You're just listening on your iPod or whatever, Spotify, just playing the music. And you get used to that kind of taking the music that way. And so it's cool in the sense of like hopefully you can get immersed in it. You know what I'm saying? That's what I do when I listen to music. I listen to music and I'm walking, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I want to be immersed in that world and just get lost in it. And I think that can happen in this album. And then with the way it's cut up, the way it rolls with the skits and the kind of like TV fuzz, you know what I'm saying, from track to track. I remember somebody said that it felt like they were watching a TV show, like or
Mhm.
flipping channels, you know, and on the TV or whatever. So yeah, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. And like at first the static was just a thing I was just doing with songs. I was just like, it's just cool. Like I just thought it was cool to end them like abruptly like that. Like the beat just cuts and just cuts to static. But then as I was making it, I was like, oh, this is like a really good way to kind of give it a certain kind of vibe. Especially then when I started pulling like the samples, like it was just like shit from commercials and like dialogue from anime. But like I like and started intentionally making it just like, all right, like here the song's just gonna cut and then start off with like a 30-second dialogue exchange from Yu Yu Hakusho, and then it cuts to static again, and then goes to the song, and it's like, all right, that was just like a commercial break or
Right.
whatever. And like,
Right.
yeah, it just kind of just came together like that. Like I just kind of let everything flow, and I'm really happy with how it all turned out.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
he'd send me the stuff. Like I said, he'd send me it, or I'd send him the beat. He'd send me back the verse with the skit, and like I'd be like, okay, that's cool. And then I'd come back with something at the end, or if he had something at the end, I'd put something at the beginning and just, kind of bookend everything. And so it really turned out well. It really did. The static, it was cool. Like I like to fuck with static too, but I've never done like static that much static in an album. But it really worked out. Like it's a cool listen. Like it's like 30 minutes, 32 minutes. So it's like it's got a high replay value. I feel like you can just like play it again, loop it, play it, but run it back again, run it back again.
Yeah.
So it's cool like that.
Another thing that flows really well in this project is the lyricism. It especially feels like you're so present in your narrative, so intentionally in tune with what's happening to you and what's going on around you. And generally speaking, it feels like we as humans have to engage with life like that. Otherwise, it is a blur. What informs your delivery as an MC? And does it feel like your style is a continuous evolution?
So like this past year of my life has been kind of crazy. Not like on some like wild, like chaotic shit, but just like because like I moved back to New York. Like I mean, I haven't lived in I grew up upstate, like an hour and a half outside the city. But like I have been spending time here since I was a teenager. But then when I moved to New York City, I started like connecting with people that I only really knew over the internet, like Site Screening. We had like started like like talking a lot when I was still living in Philly, like fucking with each other's music. And then he ended up mixing all of Year Wandering. So I spent a lot of time at his crib in Queens, like last year and like early this year and shit. He just like gave me like a lot of like game and advice on like just like being a rapper generally, just like writing, just like stylistic shit, just like a whole ton of shit. And like that just really influenced me a lot. And then I spent a lot of the summer running around with like Silence, and like we did like three like two or three shows together. And like I just like met a ton of people, like the Shrapnel show, and just like being present at shit. And I feel like even though like half of that I wasn't even going there to rap, it's just like being within all of that, just like kind of, I don't know, just like started some kind of gear. Yeah, because like also Year Wandering, I feel is like the first project that really like opened any kind of door. Which like kind of just gave me a lot more confidence to kind of just like be more of like what I think is, dope, and just kind of like not doubt myself as much. So like I was just able to just, just like lock in, just kind of be able to draw from experiences better, just be able to be more of like myself in raps, like bring up references from just like random shit, not really second guess if like, oh, is this relevant? Just like, it sounds cool or whatever, and actually have the skill level to pull it off, I think is the most important part. But like, yeah, it's really honestly just like being around other really dope rappers just like makes me want to not slow down, and just kind of like inspires me a lot. Just like do whatever I do. And then also like, influences of the shit that made me want to rap originally, like Wu-Tang, Doom, the Juggernauts, like old Death Drift stuff, and then like all the backwoods stuff. Like that shit makes me want to just like keep elevating. Like I never want to feel content.
Well, you're talking about being yourself. I think it was maybe the second listen that I had on the project. I sat back and I was like, man, I really feel like I just went on a ride through Black Chai's mind. Like this really feels like it captures your interests, your perspective, your politics, like who you're about. Like I could hand this to someone and be like, yo, this is Black Chai. Like this is him.
Hmm.
Do you feel that way about it?
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause like I describe my shit the way I do because I have a very short attention span. So like even outside of music, I kind of am just all over the place within my thought process. So I guess that is just very reflected in the way I write stuff. So like I definitely do feel that way. I definitely feel like am able to inject a lot of myself into the music now. Like when I started rapping, it was pretty much just like all anime raps, shit like that. But like I wasn't really good enough to really pull it off. So like I spent a few years not doing that and just kind of like getting good enough to where I'm like, all right, I can start doing this again, but actually make it like dope. And then like just being able to like figure out how to be funny or like figuring out how to like say deep shit without sounding preachy or just like even just like run of the mill general daily life observations I like to make a lot. Um yeah, just like shit like that. But I feel like I've gotten pretty good at it. Yeah.
This project is a reminder for me that August Fanon beats always have so much life in them. They feel like living, breathing things to me. They're always rich in sound and different styles. And along the lines of what we were talking about earlier, they feel like they intentionally carve out space for Black stories. So, Fanon, when you're working with MCs like Black Chai, is it important for you to spend time in their world and learn more about their experiences so that you can determine what sound is best for their narrative?
I heard Black Shy before, and then I forget which album Khadijah put me on, but then when I heard You Get Wandering, like it was giving me, like I said, it sparked something. I was like, I think I have something for this guy. You know what I'm saying? I got something. You know, I think we could really do something. You know, so yeah, like I sent him those packs with intent. But like I said, particularly for Killer Priest, like I was thinking like, yeah, this is gonna happen pretty soon. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, no, I'm not. But I was just talking like my friend that was just here, Stickfig. He was just asking me about like, do you ever feel like you're wasting beats working with this guy or that guy because they might not be this level? I was like, hell no, man. I make so many beats and I love working with artists on any level if they're dope. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I'm not thinking about that at all, man. It's like if they're dope, they can have the best. I don't care. I'm giving the best. I try to keep the quality level high regardless, but you know,
Did you
Wait,
just say you were with Stick Figure?
Nick Figure's the guy you kicked out to do the interview.
yeah.
Oh man, he could have stayed. We love him.
I thought about that. I was like, yeah, I keep stick figure out, man. I keep stick figure out, man.
Damn.
Oh, we love Stick.
Stick is cool, man. Stick is cool. That's the first like because he moved down here to Texas while I was living here, but we never linked. And so, but we linked today. So yeah. And he lives in Fort Worth. He lives really close. So
Yeah,
yeah.
word.
Chai, I read the Caltrops press interview that was recently published,
Uh-huh.
and a couple things came out of that kind of stuck to me. In it, you mentioned that not being in the middle of some kind of creative process gives you anxiety.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
what contributes to that?
I mean in general, I just have very bad anxiety like all around. But like specifically like that specific context, it's just like making music is like probably one of the few things in life that actually makes me feel like very genuinely happy, like I have any kind of purpose or direction or meaning for breathing air, basically. Like not to be like morbid or like depressing or anything, but I mean just like it's one of those things where I'm like, oh, like this is probably why I'm here. not on like any messianic level, but just like this is what I had to contribute to the world, and this is the thing that I'm good at. This is what I put most hours of my life into cultivating. And like I feel like, and I've had times too where like I've had like a shitty couple weeks, and then I'll sit back and be like, oh, I haven't written or recorded anything in these past few weeks, and that's probably why I feel like shit because like that dopamine rush that you feel whenever you make a song and you just listen to it for the rest of the day or some shit like that. Just like I don't know, just like just creating is just like such a great thing to like experience and like I just would rather always be in the middle of that than like sitting outside of it and being like, yeah, I make music, but I haven't made any music lately. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
just yeah, I'm just like always very aware of or not aware, but just always kind of thinking about like, oh yeah, like I should be doing this because what am I doing if I'm not doing it? Like I'm just wasting my time.
In that same interview, you mentioned that you recently read Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy.
Yeah.
Uh, I read it recently for the first time myself. Incredible book, just a brutal depiction of the American frontier. I'm curious how that book has like made its way into your writing.
I still haven't finished it because I just read slow. I don't read it like every day and shit. I'm like a little over halfway through, but like I know some things about how it ends. So like, but I started reading it because I mean honestly because I read an interview where like Billy Woods was talking about all the literature and shit that influenced him, and that was one of the ones that was like kind of like more up there. And like also like I think in that interview I mentioned just like kind of my admiration for writers in general. And like he, you know, Blood Meridian is like one of the quote unquote great American novels or whatever the fuck. But like reading it, like just the way he writes, you know, like it's not very traditionally written or his style in general, you know, like he doesn't use quotation marks for dialogue. It's just like a ton of run-on sentences. There'll just be like pages and pages of him just describing the landscape, even though like there's characters doing shit, but he just doesn't pay attention to it. And like that's also kind of similar to Tolkien, like Lord of the Rings. I read Lord of the Rings in high school, and it's just like a lot of just like descriptions of nature and like stuff like that. And I'm just like, this is really cool. Like I definitely see how this makes its way into other people's writing. And I just kind of try and just pull little things from it, just like stylistic things, or just like, oh, this is a good way to describe something. Let me try and do this, but like in a rap and like stuff like that. Because I was never really skilled at like writing traditionally. I definitely want to get better at it just for the sake of like being able to like write story rhymes or whatever, or like just more focused material. But in general, it's just like, I don't know. I just think it's like really impressive. And like, I definitely see how it can translate to rap music very well. And I just try and do that. But mostly it was just like descriptions. Like, I've been trying to describe things that I see more. And like, I like that his style is kind of meandering too, because my style is very meandering. So it's just another thing where I'm like, oh, this can work. And like, I don't need to worry about it making sense because it's art and it'll make sense to somebody.
Fanon, you seem to be in an especially prolific creative period right now, man. You've said on Twitter that you've really been able to lock in on the music lately. You've talked about new music coming with folks like Tokyo Cigar, Blue, Sleep Sinatra, Fat Boy Sharif, Vic Spencer, Child Actor. I'm probably missing someone, and that's not to mention all the production that's been featured on other people's albums. What do you think has enabled this current run that you're on?
Well, I've been active, like working like this for a while, maybe 15 years, like pretty actively, kind of like Child said, like the rush I get from making a dope beat, like I'm just like I'm gonna do it again, I'm gonna do it again, and it's like this is what I do, and I don't do anything else. And for a long time, I wasn't making any money, and with like I'm with the idea in mind that one day I would be able to support myself doing this. So I was just working like well, working like I had to pay the rent, you know what I'm saying? But lately though, I think it's what's been attributed to is just kind of just like a aggregate of all this work, and it's just come to a point where I'm able to bubble to a level where I'm able to work with these guys. Like I got the beats. It's just like, do I have enough MCs in the network that I can get them out to? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm making, when I'm at home, I'm making 6, 7 a day. You know what I'm saying? 5, 6 days a week. So I'm putting it out. It's just a matter of getting it out. And so it's just been over time being able to make the connections in the industry and the underground and above ground with these people, and it's just been coming together. Like interesting enough, like Blue, for instance, like we linked. Stick Figure linked me with Blue. Stick Figure linked me with Blue, and Blue's like, yeah, we can do something, and he's like, but I got like 4 or 5 projects, but we definitely gonna lock that. And so I was like, just give me some time. I'm like, okay. And so I gave him a bunch of beats, and he told me that. And then like a month later, he sent me like 14 demos with everything, all his shit laid out. No features, like, but all his shit was laid out. He was ready to go. I'm like, okay, cool. And those beats were like beats that I had done at least 5 years. None of the stuff that he rapping on this album is COVID forward. It's all pre-COVID type stuff. So it's like I've had these beats. It's just a matter of making those connections again. I got lots of stuff, man. But recently like I said, it's just been able to meet people and make this connection. A child actor, is a guy that I've been known for a while, and we've been featured on albums, and we did a show together, and we're like, let's do an album. And like, okay, yeah, man, yeah. I got some stuff with Young Morphe's been we're locked in for a while, so we've done singles and off, and we got an album coming, and it's just been a snowball effect essentially. But moving forward, I would like to keep up this pace though, and I think I can, so.
So, Otherwise a Blur is a first official project to be released on Black Kids Productions. Do I have that right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, are you treating this as your record label? What are the long-term vision and
Uh,
plans?
well, at first, I kind of want to do something kind of like Alchemist, where I'm just like, okay, I got a label, but essentially I'm just doing albums with other artists. You know what I'm saying? And I'm releasing them on my imprint. But the long-term vision is to actually have like a more of a traditional label. I'm thinking like old school Columbia when they had like Miles Davis on the label, and at the same time they had like what's my man named Bob Dylan. Like I would like to be able to move in very genres outside of hip hop, like and even if I'm not the one that's actually producing the album, the label is putting the album out and supporting the artist and all the work, all the fixings. You know what I'm saying? I want to do that, but at first it's just going to be just kind of like me and Black Chai got together. It's just going to be on my imprint and just doing one-offs with different artists and my own beat tapes and things, so yeah, yeah.
Love it. We sort of touched on this earlier, but there's been a lot of support for this project and commentary on this project on social media, and I'd love to see it. It's pretty clear that people are really invested in Otherwise a Blur, as they should be. Beyond the praise received for the album, was there a hope that the project would continue to create connections and foster community within the underground hip hop scene? Is that always the goal when you're releasing a project?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just like, happy to be here. I never thought I'd be in the position that I'm in right now. Not that it's like a crazy position, but like, I never thought that I would have as many people fucking with me as I do. Or like, when I started making music, like I was like a fan of people that I'm just like friends with now. And that's all off the strength of just being a rapper and putting the shit out. And like I think another thing I said in the Cal Trials interview is just like I just want to like be a part of like the lore that like for lack of a better term, like don't need to be the most well known or whatever, but like if like 20 years from now it's just like, oh, there's this album that's really dope. Like, I when I started writing, I listened to Clear Blue Skies a lot, and that was a big influence on just like learning how to rap. like listening to Breeze Brewin. And now I'm just like, oh, like not as many people know about them as I feel they should, but they were so fucking important and like still are. But just like, like just to be something akin to that. And just like also just like the scene in general, I really love it. I mean, like I love hip hop so much. It's so important to me. And just like being able to contribute in any way I can just makes me feel like I'm doing something important.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I love it. I love it so much. And like I was telling my friend last night, like I can't believe, it's like I'm actually contributing to hip hop, and I'm pretty good. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the best, but I'm pretty damn good. And it's like wow, like you're actually making rap records, man. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just. And I was telling my friend, I was like, I honestly, everything's moving so fast, and I'll be so busy, I don't even have time to sit back really and reflect on that. But like, yeah, it's incredible. That's incredible. And like fostering community, like all the features are people that Chai brought. I've never worked with them before. I've never even heard them rap before. Noah, 98 Preem, in Silence. You know what I'm saying? But I met Silence the other at the photo shoot with E. And he's cool. My girl likes him. Like, oh, meet this guy, and it's just built, like you said, building community, and it's just beautiful because, like, who knows? Maybe I'll work with those guys. Do some more work and stuff. So it's cool. Just pick up people, and that's part of the reason why I moved to New York was to get deeper into the hip hop community or move back to the East Coast in general. And it's been everything I thought it would be and more. So yeah, I mean, I still could have got things going in Texas, but like being in New York and being able to actually meet blackchai in the physical and have lunch with them and hang out and whatnot, and even if we're not in the same studio, to know that we're both in Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? We're not that. We can, if maybe we can get together real quickly. You know what I'm saying? It's just a different aspect to it all. You know what I'm saying? So that's a big thing. Like everybody, like the backwoods people, Fat Boy Sharif, child actor, stick figure, everybody, everybody. I love it. You know what I'm saying? I love the community. You know what I'm saying? And even as that, the other thing I was telling about, another little side story. I was telling my friend, like, I remember when I first started making beats. I used to be on this website called like futureproducers.com, and I met a couple people, two guys that were in the military. And I remember I'm still friends with them. And like very, very, very soon off, like when I first got on, I was talking to the guy and he was telling me, I was asking him, should I get this book about production? He's like, you don't need it. You don't even need that book. But what you need is a MIDI controller. I'm gonna send you I think it was M Audio 25. And I was like, I looked it up. I'm like, you're gonna send me that? I was like, what do you mean you're gonna send me it? And I just thought it was weird, you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you mean? Like, I don't even know you, man. He's like, no, you need this. I'm just gonna send. And he sent me this. He sent me the controller, and it's like that was like 2006 or seven, 2006, because I was still in Texas. So he sent me this controller, and like that's just an example of the kind of love that I've been receiving ever since I've stepped in and started into hip hop and got into this community. And the other thing too, the fans and just people in general that are like fans or writers or like either photographer, just meeting people that love hip hop or like Eric Beats, no, Rakim said in the Biz Markie documentary. Like I was jealous of Biz because I felt like I met somebody that loved hip hop more than me. And like, I'm meeting people, I'm like, I love hip hop to death. I'm like, I think this guy might be into this a little bit more than me, actually. This is crazy. And there's like a lot of people like that. Like, I've met people through social media all over the world, and it's crazy. It's the best. It's everything.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
Yeah. And just to add onto like the community and just like kind of creating connections and stuff, like specifically like 98 Cream and Noah are like two of my closest collaborators and like friends and like all this. Like we're all in a collective called No Clue, but like only two, like me and one other member are the only ones who actually live in New York. Like everyone's spread out between like the South and the Midwest and shit. But like Noah produced a lot of like my last like two or three projects, and Cream has been on I think almost all of them. And like I think I've rapped with him more than almost anyone else I know. And like, I just always try to like make, I want anyone who's a fan of me to also be a fan of them
Hmm.
because, I wouldn't be here without them and everyone else in No Clue. But they're the ones I think I work with the most,
That's also community, bringing your people with you.
definitely.
Well, you guys are talking about how much you love hip hop, and I can't think of a better transition to move into our next segment.
Oh yeah.
Viktor Vaughn, you are accused of.
Fool! Did you really think Viktor Vaughn could be captured so easily?
We have a suspect, we have a witness, but we have no victims. If you can authorize overtime.
He used to get straight A's. Nowadays, get way paid is the pet phrase. Set the stage, preferably night times. Daylight reserved for research and writing rhymes. Things is harder than the tarnish on the garnets in his gold teeth to eat. Gosh darn it, behold heat. Going all out to the fullest. Old dip. Chrome forfeit if no bullets, no clip. Black electric tape over the hole in the handle. If you hold it right and hit them with it, they can't tell. But still, you gotta be careful. Dudes be so scared they cop pleas by the airful. Be personal favors, please don't kill me. Empty out your pockets and they probably won't, Willie. But if you don't hurry up and shut up, I'll kill you. Now lay down and count to 100 loud, will ya?
Every episode, we ask our guests to pick an album that is either a favorite or has been influential, a personal classic, something like that. And tonight we're talking about Viktor Vaughn, aka MF Doom, and Vaudeville Villain. Guys, how did we land on this pick? How did we get here?
So I mean, like I said before we started recording, I've been a fan of the show for a couple years, like since I lived in Philly. So I think I always had been like keeping track of like what records like have been covered and like what hasn't, just in case I ever actually was on the show. And like that's one that like I'm surprised no one has done. I'm also surprised no one's done Operation Doomsday yet, which is also surprising. But we didn't do that one because that one's been like talked about infinitely. You know what I mean? But Vaudeville Villain is also just like it's definitely a formative project for me personally. I'm sure it is for a lot of people. But it's just like it's one of my favorite Doom projects. Yeah, no, I just think it's dope. And it's just something I feel like I could talk about pretty easily.
I mean, for me, I just love Doom and the opportunity. Like, I didn't want to, like I said, we talked about Operation Doomsday, but like felt like, well, a lot of people have talked about that. Let's talk about vaudeville. You know what I'm saying? So let's do that. But I love Doom, and so this is, we could have. There's so many albums we could have chose. I'm glad blackchai just came with like, what do you think of these three? You know, because I would have.
Yeah.
I'm in my head. I'm like, this is one obscure album that probably nobody's heard. I'm like, let's talk about that. Like, I've only heard it, But so this is all
And
good.
Vaudeville is pretty underrated too, just because of like, I mean, people who know, but like just because of when it came out, like it came out when Doom was like at his peak. Like he had put out the King Ghidorah record and then Vaudeville, and then a year later put out Food and Mad Villainy. So people kind of talk about those more.
Even in his own discography, yeah, it's unheralded.
And it's also one of the only Doom projects that's, and maybe one of the only ones that's like entirely outside production. Because there's like Danger Doom and some others. Oh well, yeah, Mad Villainy. But I always think of Mad Villain as like a single entity. Like I know Mad Lib produced the whole thing, but I'm just like it's just MF Doom. Like they're like two sides of the same coin. But yeah, because this one also has a ton of producers that aren't on anything else other than the one RJ D2 joint.
I just realized that this album turns 20 next Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
It does not sound like it's aged at all. I'm wondering if you think that's true about most Doom projects.
I think so. For me,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no Doom project that I can think of that I think is like dated at all.
Right.
No.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, like I mean, like Doomsday sounds old, but that's just because it, just the recording. was done in like Bobito's apartment or something.
Right.
But like no, like dated, like in any other context of the word, I don't think any of them sound dated. Like it's very timeless.
Yeah.
There are a couple of tracks on here that I mean, I don't know if I would say they sound dated, but they did remind me of like a wave of like glitch pop and like glitchy sound. I don't know. I'm terrible with genres, but like glitchy sounding production that all seem to.
Yeah.
I think I know the one you're talking about. Like, or I'm not sure. I don't know. We can name names, but like, I remember I went back one more time today and took some serious notes, and I was thinking like on the beats I think you're talking about. I'm thinking my thoughts on them were like because I was reading up on the album to just getting reviews and stuff and seeing what people were saying, and they were saying a lot of stuff like a lot of people were like they thought Doom, of course, was excellent, but there was a split upon like some people didn't like the production, some people thought it was the best thing in the world. But as far as the glitchy beats, I was thinking my thing of those were like only Doom can make those work. Like some of them, like even like I feel like as a producer and as a music lover, I'm like, oh, I like this beat. I can feel this, but at the same time, as a hip hop producer, like this is there's not too many MCs I can think of that would get on this and then also make it a good song. And so I came up like there's a couple notes I have like only Doom could this is the beat is okay, but only I think only Doom could fuck with this. And then there's a couple other ones I was like, this kind of reminds me of a chamber that like Woods was in and Aesop Rock was in the 2000s. A lot of those type of beats, some of those beats were, and like those are the only like three guys I could see rapping over some of that stuff. When I really thought about it. But it was interesting though. A lot of people didn't like the beats. I talked to Onward about that. He's like, I hate these beats, man. I was like, but I like what Doom was doing. On the last listen, like before earlier today, I was like, nah, these beats are pretty good. There's only like maybe one that I'm like, nah, this is a little too, I don't know. But in general, I thought the production was pretty cool. Production is different and it's kind of like so sci-fi and kind of glitchy sounding. I think it works, and it's still like I said, it hasn't aged. It's not dated. You know what I'm saying? I still listen today. It's still fresh.
Those glitch.
Yeah, it kind of
Sorry.
I was just gonna say like it kind of the like glitchiness and like kind of the subtle electronic elements kind of play into the narrative of the album because it's like he like time travels to like the early 90s
Mm-hmm.
and there's like a lot of like references to like his like spaceship or like his time machine or whatever and like it's like that and like they do like black magic and shit like that but like it's very sci-fi.
Yeah, it is.
Those glitch beats fit with the theme for sure. I think it's definitely in my mind the most different sounding Doom album because of the production. Part of what makes it different for me is like it's not so much of Doom's production and the stuff he did with Madlib and even the Danger Doom stuff is like really layered and dense and there's a lot of samples being used and this is not that. It's like stripped back a little bit.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that might be why I like this one a lot too. Just like, the beats are just very raw. And it's just him just like, I mean, because this is also like one where he's like talking. I think there's like a violent assault described in every song on the album, which is like, that's not like a rare thing for Doom, but like a lot of like newer Doom fans are like, they like him for the Adult Swim shit, the wacky shit. But like, he's a lot of times just talking about like getting drunk and like committing crimes and just a lot of hood shit. Like I was talking to Creature about that because Creature is on this album. I don't know if you guys know Creature. He was also on the Blockhead, the Aux. He was on a joint with Fatboy Sharif, and he plays in this band Rebel Matic. That's like in the same vein as like Zulu and like Soul Glow and shit. But yeah, like we became like I met him. He just comes into my job because one of my coworkers is like an older New York dude from like the Bronx who like used to go to CBGB shows. So he introduced me to Creature through that because I also play guitar and I have been in like punk bands and shit like years ago. So he introduced us on that. And then like when I realized that this is a dude who like I've known about through like hip hop, who's like known he like there's songs with him and like Vordel Mega and like Sadat X. Like he's known Billy Woods since before Backwoods was a thing, I think, and like shit like that. And now we just like hang out in the park during my lunch break sometimes, and he'll just like give me advice on like being a rapper and an artist. And like he even was we were talking about when he did his verse for this album, and like even back then it was like he was saying like the engineers in the studio, they were never in the studio together, but like he was picking up on like a lot of Doom's rhymes were him talking deliberately about like white engineers who were recording him who like didn't get his shit.
Hmm.
And like a lot of the album is like, Viktor Vaughn is supposed to be like a younger, more like arrogant, brash young dude. And that's like portrayed throughout the whole album. But I think it's just like a very like a side of Doom that I like a lot. Just like, just kind of like, like talking my shit, I'll smack the shit out of you, like type shit. And like, yeah, it's pretty much just the whole album. It's just that. It's just like him describing a whole song, describing how to mug people, fucking mad songs about just like him just being better than you at rapping, shit like that. Yeah.
One theme I picked up on, like I wrote a note. I was like, I said, the Doom really transmutes all the frustration and anger about the music industry into some of the most beautiful and poignant commentary on that subject matter ever written. The only other guy that comes off with that level of disgust for this circus is Cool Keith. Like he had mad rhymes about like whack MCs and just industry politics and stuff like that. But he does that. He's done that throughout his catalog, and like it's just a major theme for him. But and the thing is that can get really like tiring. Like, oh, I don't want to hear you complain about But he does the way he sets it up. It's almost like it's like past tense. Like, yeah, that shit's whack. Woo whack it, man. These motherfuckers can't rap, and these industries, and in the way he does it, it's comical, and it's not like you don't feel like he's hurt by it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure like coming off the KMD stuff and transforming into Doom, that was a big part of like all that, and having to deal with all the industry stuff from back then to when he came into Doom was like, yeah, this is like the way he, because a lot of rappers get bitter, you know what I'm saying? And like, but like he put all that into the music, you know what I'm saying? Like he wasn't like, the mad rapper, you know what I'm saying? He's not the mad rapper, but like he raps like his character might be a mad rapper, or he raps about that kind of stuff, So I thought that was cool, Another thing is like that. I was there. What track was it? What he talks about like one of the first 2 or 3 tracks. I can't read my notes quick enough, but he talks about like rap is the only genre where the fans shoot the messenger, and he said that on one song, and then on like Open Mark 2, like some dude pulls out a gun and starts shooting in the open mic, and I was like, oh, that's kind of crazy. But like what y'all was saying about like the space, like I heard like I said, he's supposed to be traveling back to the '90s, a space traveler, and I was trying to pick up that theme. I picked it up in a couple songs, but it wasn't like I was picking it up all throughout the whole thing. But I did pick it up in a couple things, and I read that was like supposed to be like the general thing. But I'm gonna keep listening and stuff because like I'm bad with that. Like I listen to like as I get older, it's just like a mood. Like once I feel the MC, what I call it safe enough, you know what I'm saying? I can just, vibe out and just tune out and just listen and be in my own thoughts. And like Doom is a guy like that. Like, now I just put on Doom and I'll just go into my own head. Or a lot of artists I do that with are musicians that if I like them, like, I'll spend a lot of time kind of in my own thoughts, just while they're playing around in the background, not really paying attention. If it's a rapper, not really paying attention to the lyrics that closely. But yeah, but this album, I don't know. Like it's funny. I was reading you guys ever heard what's his name? The critic, what's his name? Robert Christou or something like that. He wrote like the Rolling Stones and some other big magazines. He's been a writer for a long time, and I remember since child this is one of the reasons why I don't like reading reviews and stuff, because he was like Doom show, like he wrote this in retrospect. It was about this album, but he was writing this in retrospect about just Doom passing. Like Doom shows that it's more about just having fun than making sense. And I was like, what? Like like Doom is not really saying anything at all, or like he's not making points. It's just comedy or whatever, kind of like and I was like, wow, that's a real shallow reading of Doom, you know. But
I think
go ahead.
no, I was
Like a statement on the industry, you know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
were, but isn't that what the mask is all about? Like he's making a statement with the mask.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
I think what you like, back to what you were saying, Fanon, about him talking about the same things that other people are talking about. I think what made him so great is that he found a way to do it that he did it in such an innovative way. No one else was talking about these things in the way that he was talking about. It wasn't always straightforward. Sometimes you had to really listen, and you have to read between the lines, but it was all there. And he used different narratives and characters and storylines to discuss these major things that other people were dealing with, but it wasn't in a straightforward way. So that guy, like, offering that criticism clearly didn't get it, and he was just sort of focusing on like maybe the silliness, and because it's there, but like he's also talking about real shit.
Very real shit. Very real shit. Real shit. He's always on these rappers' heads, man.
Yeah.
And he's also one of those rappers who will pull very hyper specific things from their own experience and will not, they'll just put it in there. Like they don't care if you can relate to it or not.
Right.
Like, like he'll just like, especially with like the way he'll like talk about like old commercials that only aired in like New York City in like the 1980s. That like, if you weren't, if you didn't experience that, you're not going to know why he's talking about a talking orangutan. You know what I mean? But like the people who don't get it are like, oh, this is like funny or cool or whatever, interesting. And then the people who do get it, there's that extra layer.
Yeah.
So there's just like a lot to peel back. And like, no matter your level of understanding of what he's talking about, it's like, it's just great music and like just great. Like, I didn't even really know there was like a narrative to the album until I started listening to it a lot this past week, just like for this. And I was like, oh shit, like half of these songs are like stories.
Yeah. Another interesting, I think I wrote this note. The track number 3, Look Upon. That's the same sample from Warning from Biggie.
Right.
I was just thinking about that. Easy Mo B made that beat. I'm like, yo, I'm not sure which, because it's like a 4-man production team that did this Vaudeville Villain or did most of it. So I'm not sure which specific producer did that one, but like that's a cool flip, and that's interesting, that he did that. You know what I'm saying?
Confirmation of your worst fears. Ever since his first years, had thirst for beers. Back from the future, it'll make you more soberer, and brought back a long list of fakers who crossed over. I'm like, fuck it, bubble baller. Catch him up at Bob's show, stalling with a trouble caller. Bastard, who can make G's faster than a newly remastered while being truly blasted? There's 4 sides to every story. If these walls could talk, they probably still ignore me. Contemplate war over a cup of warm coffee. It's really getting gory. Tell your problem to Maury. Don't bore me with the glory, hallelujah. Cruise me like Fooey. It's all a bunch of hooey. I knew he had new G. Who he? Viktor Vaughn. He had a new sicker song. I think he call it Lick Upon. But he studied rhymes and patterns. Climb so steep, sometimes the beat don't be mattering. Sounding like a half-death and scurvy band rock. A programmed computer by a grafted Herbie Hancock. Maybe next life you try harder. Die a martyr at the hands of the fire starter. All scripts ripped, available for via barter. Transport the stack to the lab via charter. On the microphone, he came to days in the major. What a guy practiced banging flies with razors. And watch out for the robot, he got eyes with lasers. Tell him when they come with more topics besides blazers.
I was gonna ask you guys about that track because I was chatting recently with Small Professor about familiar samples, right? And
Yeah.
some people don't want to use them, some people don't want to touch them, but he was telling me, like, fairly recently, he's just decided he's gonna use what he likes and find unique ways to use them. Lick Upon is one of those samples that, like, you recognize immediately, but you found a new way to, like, present it.
And for me, production wise, like I'm gonna stay, like, if I came across that, I'm not touching. I'm just gonna go like, wow, that's the warning sample. Okay, that's cool. Mental note. Maybe I'll put it back on, for a mix or something, sample mix or something, but I'm not gonna try to touch it. I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole. You know what I'm saying? I'm not touching anything like that. Like as a matter of fact, I don't know if you heard the new Dr. Dre with Marsha Ambrosio. He like flipped like Nas's One Love. He flipped MCs Act Like They don't know, and it's like weird because it's like 2024 Dre, but it's like, why would you do that? Like, we want to hear something new from you, and he flipped like half the album is like old, like classic sample flips. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, back to Doom though. But yeah, let me see what else and what I got here. Like the track number 5, Lactose and Lecithin. That's the first track I picked up on the narrative. I think that's the beginning of the story for me, about the space, the time travel story anyway. I don't know. Again, I need to listen very closely. Maybe it started before then. You know what I'm saying, in the album. And then like on track 7, he gets to Open Mic, and it's like the first 6 tracks are like up to Open Mic is like, for me, when I listen to it, it's almost like for the album, like the first 7 tracks really stood out for me. Like when I think of that album, or that's what I'm most familiar with. And but that Open Mic also, it was weird coming. The first 6 were totally different, and then he comes with this Open Mic thing. And it's like, well, what is he doing now? What is this narrative about? Like, what's going on now with this Open Mic shit? Like, he's got the Sambuca guy and these guys talking this shit, like rapping and whatever. He like weaved in another story plot there that was pretty cool there. I like, and then so the album has got a lot of stuff. Like, Doom is a real dense guy, but this album in particular is like, it's heavy. It's pretty heavy.
A lot of layers.
Yeah, there's a lot of songs too where it's just like him meandering around New York.
Yeah.
Like there's one where he just describes he just met like in like one set of bars he like mentions like Delancey, Essex, and then like Broadway and like Canal Street, and it's just like him just like doing shit. Just like I think he like runs up on someone and like robs someone and their girlfriend and shit like that, and just like describing like the streets he's on and all that. And it's just like, oh, this is like just a day in the city for him in the early 90s while trying to repair his machine to go back to his time. And just like, yeah, it's just like it's like random, but it's very thought out, and it's like it flows if you pay attention.
Well, and
I like that. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I've been talking a lot.
I was just gonna say, like, if you know New York and you knew it back then, like, you probably would pick something up from it, like you were saying. I think I can't remember if Fanon or Chai said it, but he put stuff in there that's specifically about the things that he knows, and either you're familiar with it or you're not, but he doesn't really like care whether you are.
Yeah. He said, like, I remember this one line. He said, hit him in the head like Reggie Denny. And I'm like, wow. And I'm like, the reference, it's Reginald, the full name Reginald, it's Reginald Denny, I think. And he said Reggie Denny. And I was like, I know that, that's the white guy that got beat up in the in
Yeah.
the LA
Yeah,
riots.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The guy got pulled out the car. But like the way he said it, Reggie Denny, like it's like, who the fuck is Reggie Denny? Like if you don't know, but if you don't know, that's gonna go way over your head. And that's pretty old. That's like that goes back to '92. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people that listen to Doom weren't even born. Well, not a lot. Well, he's got a big fan base that weren't even born then. You know, so it's like, yeah. So it's pretty crazy. It's cool, and it's cool that he feels so open and to do that. You know, and it's not like he's doing it because to show off. It's just like this is a style. Like you said, like I'm the hyper specific to me and what I know. And I like the same thing I like about like the Woods, like in that sense, like how they put together build their worlds, and like, you know, like it's almost like we're all in the same room, or all the MCs are in the same room, but each MC is gonna pick out different things out of that room. But like the stuff that Doom is picking out is just unbelievable in the way he's putting it together. Like, oh, I see it like that or whatever. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I got a whole bunch of rhymes. I don't want to read them all off, but like of him just talking about MCs, like 8 of the tracks that I've got lines here about him just rapping about just whack MCs. You know what I'm saying? That's something that really I picked up on, like my last listen. I was just like, wow, he's really going in on cats, you know. But you said in a very creative, not straightforward kind of way. And so even in some of those disses, like some of that stuff will go over people's heads, you know, I feel like.
Well, I love that Chai kind of had this in the chamber, ready for us when he got the opportunity. I appreciate y'all picking this album, and appreciate y'all being here with us tonight. Is there anything before we let you go? Is there anything you want folks to know about Otherwise a Blur, where to find it, what to look out for, anything at all?
We're gonna try to get some vinyl, and we're working on another merch idea for this album that I don't want to talk about yet, but and maybe we're gonna do a show for the album, maybe in the winter, or maybe in the early next year, you know, when we hopefully get the vinyl in. And then we got this other idea that's going to be pretty hot that, you know, I don't want to release it yet, but we're still pushing this album forward, and hopefully it can still continue to grow. But like Chai said, like my thing is just like, you know, who cares what happens in the next 6 to 18 months? It's just like in 20 years from now, like is it still going to be relevant? And I think this has an opportunity to do that. Like it has a possibility it could still be a relevant album that people pick up, and like, I feel like Chai said, like I'm a kind of listener like that, where like it just like, you know, I like finding obscure, or not even has to be obscure, just stuff that I didn't know about. You know what I'm saying? And like, oh wow, this is great. Like, yo, and I'd love to be that guy that, you know, some kid finds later on, you know, and like, oh, this is crazy. You know, this is awesome. And so that's why I have part of the reason why I do it, a big reason why I do it.
Yeah, pretty much all that, and then it's probably put it on streaming in like a month or two. And then aside from Otherwise a Blur, I mean, like the two of us are definitely going to continue putting out projects. And I have some other things of my own that are going to probably a few more things that might come out within the remainder of this year, like some collabs with some friends and other rappers and stuff. But for the time being, yeah, we're just pushing Otherwise a Blur. Just gonna keep making more shit and try to do shows, more physicals, and just be more present and all that.
Lots to look out for, but for the time being, folks, Otherwise a Blur is the name of the album. It's on Bandcamp. Go check it out. Buy the cassette. Tapes are out, or if the tapes are available to order. Guys, thanks again for being here. Really appreciate y'all.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, likewise.
This has been The Next Movement, folks. Thanks for listening. Peace.
Peace.
Samurai Champloo.
I'm serious, honey. Your coffee's undrinkable.
Pretty harsh.
Well, so's your coffee. Stand by.
meditation, no vacant displays with the price of separation. Decipher the state of mind, siphon inspiration before collapsing under the way. Cracks on the surface, you understand it without standing still. Statuettes in my imperfections reflecting the sunlight. Device is rhetorical, source tethered to every form, pretty organized for a crisis. Eyes misty, fixed upon the end of the line, liable for any loss of trust. Lingering highs, trying to wind down for a minute. The techniques implemented divinely necessary, contain power like a pylon. The sky touch a brush on the canvas, stands in the cipher with a silent gun, decisive knockout. Hearts on fire, the final resort before planetary devastation. Infinitely expanding the domain, dissociating from space and time. Try like it's none awaits another reclamation. Make the weatherbed better off, weaponizing intentions and good graces. Black Carhartt hoodie in the space shuttle, relay the spliff to the brain. No pain when it flow like blood in the ventricle. Your best bet is to center the frame. Procession alters the sentiment. Sever the gun talk and niggas is all bark backpedaling on progress. The process acquired via laboring for fresh fruit. Stupid how the shoe fits through, twisting your arm. How you ain't through the litmus and try to claim a shell. Mechanical hellbound, no fear of the danger. Chambers irrelevant, but sipping out a full kettle. Knowing the hands that fed him, it's a new level. And yo, me and the homies collectively independent.
People saying peace, Lord, but still you poor. Might send your big homie to the store.